The name Saul Canelo Alvarez shines brighter than most in modern boxing, both in achievements and popularity. In the ring, he has defeated 16 world champions and is the only man in history to become undisputed in the super middleweight division. And outside the ring, well, the adoration he gets from his fans tends to speak for itself.
Thank you everybody, thank you so much. Gracias a todos. ¡Viva México, cabrones!
There are several fighters that rightfully consider themselves to be a pay-per-view attraction. Some have even dubbed themselves to be the face of boxing.
Definitely face of boxing. Absolutely.
But Canelo doesn't need to say that about himself because everyone else does it for him. Therefore, currently, he is the face of boxing. And he got there by being a true throwback fighter, a warrior who obliterates every single obstacle in his way and never avoids a challenge. Or at least that's what Canelo and his fans would like you to believe. The truth is, he's been accused of avoiding several different fighters and even aging fighters out to fight them when they weren't necessarily at their best. The latter is a very popular narrative amongst Gennady Triple G Golovkin fans. Some of these accusations are entirely baseless, but some do hold weight. And the one that currently holds the most weight of them all is that Canelo has been actively avoiding David the Mexican Monster Benavidez. He's given several excuses when pressured by the media and has generally made it obvious that he doesn't want to fight him.
When I heard the rumors that Canelo Alvarez, Saul Canelo Alvarez, is talking about fighting the bigger Charlo this time around, Jamal Charlo, the natural 168-pounder, okay? I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, this guy's had a fight once in the last 2.5 to 3 years. He obviously had some personal issues. Why pick him? And then you're hearing that after that fight, oh, I'm going to fight Terrence Crawford, who, by the way, started out his career lightweight, junior welterweight, went up from 140 to 147, is now the welterweight champion of the world at 147. That's 21 pounds lighter. That's 3 weight divisions lighter than Canelo Alvarez. I'm like, what about David Benavidez, the natural super middleweight, who's 28-0 with 24 knockouts, who's been begging for Canelo to get into the ring with him?
And in this video, I'll break down the history between the two and how and why Canelo has been avoiding this fight in particular. At the center of the story between Canelo and Benavidez is the WBC super middleweight title. It is the reason why this fight makes sense now, and it is also the reason why it didn't already happen several years earlier. Benavidez first won this title in September of 2017 against Ronald Gavril, and exactly a year later, in September of 2018, he lost it because he tested positive for cocaine. Benavidez claims that growing up a fat kid, he was excluded from a lot of partying and social activities, and when he was able to finally do that, he went a little bit too wild. It bees like that sometimes.
It was really bad decision and bad timing, you know what I mean? When I decided to do it, you know, I just, you know, it happened. It needed to happen. When it happened, you know, the people, I think it was just God, you know, telling me I shouldn't be doing something because it was just a random drug test that ended up at my front door. But you know, I'm glad it happened. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna be making stupid decisions like that anymore. And not just only it wasn't bad for me. It was bad for my family. You know, all the bad publicity we got. You know, I got a lot of hate mail on Instagram. But you know, it's just decisions should be made like that. You know, I mean, and I just want to use it for all my fans, upcoming boxers that, you know, that even think about doing that. You know, it's going to hurt you a lot, you know what I mean? Not only money-wise, but, you know, everything's going to be stripped from you, your title, your reputation. So it might as well just avoid it, you know what I mean? It's not worth it.
3 months after he was stripped, Canelo went up to super middleweight for the first time against Rocky Felding and won the WBA super middleweight title. It was the first fight on his at the time historic 11-fight, $365 million contract with DAZN. He was fresh from winning the WBA, WBC, and the Ring middleweight titles in a rematch against Triple G 3 months prior. At the time, Benavidez and Canelo were not on each other's radars because Benavidez didn't have a title and Canelo was not yet fully committed to super middleweight. In September of 2019, Benavidez once again won the WBC super middleweight title against Anthony Durrell. Around this time, we began to hear the first rumblings from fans about a potential matchup between Benavidez and Canelo, but they weren't strong as the general consensus seemed to be that the 22-year-old Benavidez was still way too green for a Canelo who at the time seemed to be in the prime of his career. And Canelo decided to skip the super middleweight weight class altogether for a fight against WBO light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev in November of 2019. This fight polarized the boxing fan base a bit. Some commended Canelo for daring to be great against a bigger man, and some criticized what they believed to be a desire to pick up as many world titles in as many weight classes as possible with advantageous matchups. Both had a point. Kovalev was obviously bigger and he was a legit light heavyweight champion, but he was coming off a very tough fight just 2 months prior against Anthony Yarde, where he was badly rocked and most likely severely concussed in round 8. And in addition to that, he was also finished by a relatively unknown Canelo Alvarez the year prior. People were pointing out that this was far from the same Sergey Kovalev that terrorized light heavyweight, beat Bernard Hopkins, and arguably beat Andre Ward. And during the fight, it was obvious that the normally power-punching Kovalev was reluctant to commit to his punches against the much smaller Canelo for fear that he might get hurt, which he eventually did in round 11 when Canelo brutally knocked him out against the ropes. But whether he gets full credit for this victory or not, there's a pretty clear argument to be made that during this time, Canelo was an absolute monster. He was breaking faces and knocking people out and was legitimately a terrifying force in the middleweight and super middleweight divisions. And for Canelo, this would have been the perfect time to fight Benavidez because for sure he would have been favored to win. But before that could even be a consideration, Benavidez once again lost his WBC super middleweight title. This time by weighing 2.8 pounds over the 168-pound super middleweight limit against rover Alexis Angulo in August of 2020. Man did coke because he couldn't as a fat kid, didn't like it, and decided to go right back to being fat. It bees like that sometimes. And only 4 months later, Canelo once again moved down to super middleweight to win the WBA, the Ring, and Benavidez's vacant WBC super middleweight titles in a fight against Callum Smith. It's not a guarantee that Canelo would have still moved down had Benavidez not lost his title, but this was the point where the fight between the two was at its most probable. And Benavidez was the reason why it couldn't happen here and not Canelo. If Canelo's sole goal at super middleweight was to become undisputed, which it seemed to be, then he would have been forced to go through Benavidez if he didn't lose his title. Eventually, Canelo became undisputed by beating Caleb Plant in November of 2021. And he became the first and only man to do that in history, and it was a great achievement, but it was at this point that Canelo began to move a little bit funny and it became crystal clear that he was avoiding David Benavidez.
¿Te gustaría antes David Benavidez y después el título crucero o prefieres hacerlo al revés?
Pues mira, en este momento puedo hacer lo que yo quiera, ¿no? Ya ahorita la verdad es que enfrenté a todos los campeones mundiales en la 168, a todos les arrebaté el título y pues ahorita puedo hacer lo que yo quiera. Veré si este año o el otro.
He moved up to light heavyweight to face Dimitri Bivol for the WBA super light heavyweight title. Meanwhile, David Benavidez won the interim WBC super middleweight title in May of 2022 by beating David Lemieux. By doing this, he became the best challenger for Canelo's undisputed super middleweight titles. You could say he was his mandatory. Now, unfortunately, the Bivol fight did not go Canelo's way, and he was faced with a choice of either rematching Bivol or moving back down to super middleweight to face the best challenger there. The talks for a rematch between Bivol and Canelo fell through, supposedly due to Bivol wanting to fight Canelo at 168 for his super middleweight titles. So Canelo went back down to super middleweight, but instead of taking on a real challenger, he brought up a 40-year-old Triple G from middleweight for a third fight. Now, this was understandable from Canelo's perspective, considering how profitable that fight would be, but it doesn't change the fact that it was somewhat of a cherry pick. What wasn't as understandable was him following that up with a defense against John Ryder, who was the WBO interim champion, and following that up with a fight against Jermell Charlo, who he brought up 2 weight classes in September of 2023. And even more flagrant was the fact that the Charlo fight was under the PBC banner, who Canelo signed with for a 3-fight deal. The same promoter as David Benavidez, the two were now under the same umbrella, and there was absolutely no reason for the fight not to happen. But Canelo would deflect all Benavidez questions by either stating that he hasn't done anything, or bizarrely that he will not fight a Mexican because he represents Mexico, vaguely implying that he would not fight the half Mexican American, half Nicaraguan Benavidez for that reason.
When I say I don't want to fight Mexican, it's because I represent Mexico, and that's why. But I don't care. I fight anybody, and I fight all my entire life anybody. What do you think? I don't want to fight with one Mexico or Benavidez. But look, I hear his dad talking a lot of shit. But look, what he's accomplished, nothing. One single champion, Anthony Dirrell. Please, don't disrespect myself. Please, guys.
However, in March of 2024, he would end up fighting fully Mexican Jaime Munguia. Munguia was the WBC Silver Champion, which is another type of interim title. The only difference is the Silver Champion does not inherit a world title if it's vacated, while interim champion does. So Benavidez had much more of a claim to the fight than Munguia did. And in the build-up, Canelo came up with some new and truly hilarious ways to avoid the fight. First, he claimed that Benavidez wasn't nice enough, and it's the people that are nice and respectful to him that get the fight. A ridiculous notion considering the fact that he had issues with Triple G, Jermell Charlo, and Caleb Plant.
Don't get paid.
And a borderline blood feud with Jaime Munguia's promoter, Oscar De La Hoya.
He tried to steal money, and he's a that's what I say. He's a he tried to keep the attention for him, not for Munguia. He's a ass. He steals his fighters. That's what he do.
Focus on your fight. Okay, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. Go ahead, Miguel.
All right. I'm here for you too.
Focus on your fight.
Then he claimed that Benavidez was too big and that he would still fight him, but only for hundreds of millions of dollars.
You don't think that's the one of the biggest fights that can be made?
I don't. Maybe. Who knows? But you know, he brings nothing to the table for me. It's just he brings just 25 pounds more in the night, the fight on the night. That's it. But if some promoter, not him, because he's nothing to offer me anything.
Canelo, ¿cómo te sientes?
He's nothing to offer me money. You know, I'm the one. So, but if one promoter who I work to, they come and say, I offer to you 150 to 200 million, I fight tomorrow.
Canelo,
That's the only reason I fight with him, because the only thing he brings to the table is 25 more pounds.
The monetary demands are too ridiculous to even address, and the weight argument falls apart under the tiniest bit of scrutiny. Because Canelo didn't mind fighting the bigger Bivol and Kovalev, and refused to fight Bivol a weight class below a super middleweight. And he could no longer say that Benavidez hasn't fought anybody because he has beaten Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade, who Canelo was accused of ducking in the past.
What's up, Canelo? Congratulations today, though. Good job, baby. Good job. Good job, man. Big fan. What's up, though?
I know that.
When can we make it happen, though? What do you think?
Man, you fight with nobody.
Okay.
Hey, you are a champion, but
Wait, you avoid him at 54, you avoid him at 160, now you're going to avoid him at 168.
Come on, guys, this is not the place. Let's get
This is how it's always done this way. No. It's always done this way.
Listen, they don't want this. Listen to me, they don't want it.
Benavidez did exactly what Canelo asked him to do to earn the fight, while Jaime Munguia beat John Ryder, who nobody even knew before Canelo fought him. In fact, Munguia's own promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, said that Benavidez deserves the fight, and I know that Oscar has a lot of ill will towards Canelo, but still.
Your reaction to Canelo Alvarez wanted 150 to 100 million to fight Benavidez?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's just another way to say I don't want to fight him. That's the bottom line. That's basically it. I don't want to fight him. So you throw out a number. I mean, it's classic from boxing 101. If you don't want to fight somebody, just outbid yourself, outprice yourself.
People think it's fair. Some people think it's like fair.
Then we're not going to see the fight. And I want to see the fight.
Why would he promote another fighter over his own fighter, a PBC Al Heyman associated fighter at that? And it's not like he was the only one to say it.
The idea has now been circulated and by many fans adopted that he's ducking Benavidez and Morrell. So there's a threat to his credibility now in the marketplace if he does not choose to take the fight against one of the two Davids and goes for Berlanga instead, because Berlanga, despite his record, is seen as the softer touch.
Talking about Mexican pride,
You don't even gotta be a Mexican. You just gotta be a man, right? If you got another man coming to your house, coming in your sport, whatever you want to call it, bro, and he's calling your name, he's doing the same thing you doing, he fighting, and you the guy, you the cash cow, you the face of boxing, and you don't answer that call, bro, that says something about you, man. You know what I'm saying? You supposed to stand up. You supposed to say, oh, really? Oh, you think you better than me? Okay. Nah, but, you know, you get everybody, you know, he's proven it enough. He's proven enough. I get it. He's proven enough. He has. He has proven himself enough. But Benavidez, man, Benavidez is disrespecting him. He's telling him to grow some balls. He's doing all of that, bro. And if you being Canelo Alvarez and you have any pride in your dignity and you and your skills, I don't care. I don't care. Step up and face that man, bro.
Why Canelo is avoiding this guy? Why, bro?
Well, y'all got to talk to him about that, bro. I mean, you know, it's a lot of things going on with boxing.
Come on, man. You can say it, bro. He came with all that energy.
This is what I be saying.
Come on, man. You can say it, bro.
This is what I be saying. There's a lot of ways to say no. A lot of different ways to say no.
It is.
You understand
me?
And for me to sit back and tell you,
he picked the wrong way to say no. I picked the wrong way to say no.
There's a lot of ways to say no. Yeah. You fought the greatest Mexican arguably of all time. You fought his son, and now you got another Mexican over here that you don't want to fight. You didn't see my thing on TikTok?
I saw it.
You saw it?
I saw it. Roy, what you doing on TikTok?
I'm just saying. How you gonna tell me all these people we fight? You gonna tell me all of a sudden, oh, you don't want to fight another Mexican? Are you kidding me?
Did you hear Canelo's comments the other day about he would beat you easy, and even on the same night, as long as the money's right and everything?
As long as he gets $500 million, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think he's getting put into a corner now where he's running out of excuses. He said that the only thing I bring is 25 extra pounds, and I'm not worth nothing, but he's asking $200 million, and now he's gonna fight me in the same night. It's stupid, bro. Like, just tell the people you don't want to fight me.
And before his fight with Jaime Munguia, Canelo allegedly had some trouble with PBC, even briefly leaving them, because supposedly PBC did not want to pay Canelo his guaranteed $35 million per fight if he wouldn't fight David Benavidez at some point, because in that case, the ends would not justify the means. And after his victory against Munguia, Canelo taunted Benavidez from inside of the ring. The worst part about it all is that Canelo claims that it would be an easy fight for him. So if it's an easy fight, the fans want it, he's the rightful challenger and mandatory, and it's clearly the most profitable fight, why not just make it without all the ridiculous excuses and stipulations?
If David was a little bit more respectful, instead of like talking trash, would that help a little bit in making a fight? Instead of like saying like buy something.
200 million.
200 million still? It's still 200 million?
David Benavidez has gone as far as saying that he will give up $5 million from his own purse to make the fight a reality. So it's very clear that the reason it's not happening is because of Canelo Alvarez. But why? What is he so afraid of? It's the same exact reason why everybody wants to see the fight. He's smart enough to understand that Benavidez is truly a challenging opponent for him. At 27 years old, he's in the prime of his career, while Canelo is on the downslide at 33. He's had multiple injuries and been involved in several wars that took a lot out of him, and visibly looks like he lost a step from just a few years ago. His power isn't terrifying anymore, he hasn't finished anybody in 3 years, and has shown cardio issues in the Bivol fight. And if he's not able to finish Benavidez, it's plausible that he'll get drowned by his unrelenting pressure. He couldn't deter Munguia from coming forward round after round, and Benavidez would be a lot worse.
My last 5 fights, there's been no competition. No competition. I just go in there and walk guys down. And I'm not just throwing one punch, I'm throwing punches and bunches. I'm doing stuff that no other 168 pounder does. Combinations, 6-7 punch combinations, body shots, great jabs.
To put it simply, Canelo is a smart fighter, and he doesn't take fights that he doesn't fully believe that he can win, and this is a fight that he doesn't fully believe that he can win. So he's asking for ridiculous amounts of money to make it happen, because that's the only thing that would make it worthwhile for him. Unfortunately, by doing so and being the undisputed super middleweight champion, he's holding up the super middleweight division. You can't have all the titles and not fight the best available challenger. Theoretically speaking, there is another way to make the fight happen. Benavidez could petition to enforce his WBC mandatory. But the problem is, if the two sides don't come to a financial agreement, which they likely won't, it will go to a purse bid. and PBC will likely lose that purse bid to another promoter as they are reportedly in financial trouble, and for that reason they will much rather do this in-house. And Benavidez is much too loyal to Al Heyman to not comply. But there is a chance that Canelo might need to fight him anyway to justify what the networks are paying him. His pay-per-view against Munguia reportedly did 500,000 to 550,000 buys. PBC is losing money just to have the name Canelo attached to him. But eventually, just having the name will not be enough. He'll need to deliver some numbers in order to keep having these paydays, and David Benavidez is the biggest plausible fight that he can make right now outside of maybe Terence Crawford. So will it happen? That remains to be seen. Benavidez is moving up to light heavyweight for a showdown against Alexander Gvozdyk for his next fight, and if he wins, the WBC is giving him a 10-day period to decide if he's going back to super middleweight. And if he doesn't, then he will have to vacate his interim belt, thereby no longer being Canelo's mandatory, which would give Canelo the perfect out. And it's no wonder that people jokingly refer to the WBC as "we back Canelo."
The point of you winning the title eliminator, the interim title, and being there for 3 years. I've heard some where they said that, oh, I lost my opportunity because I chose to go up to 175. There was no talk or no nothing about me fighting for no fight with Canelo. So then how does that make sense? We're like, oh, okay, he goes to 175, he missed his opportunity. That's some in his own, you know what I mean? And I've been holding that up for a long time. I've been #1 contender for the past 3 years. I've been there, beat the guys who told me that they told me I had to beat them. And now that I see another opportunity to go up to get another title, now I lost my opportunity. It just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense how they are saying that they're going to give me 10 days to make my decision on what I want to do. Bro, what about when I was there for 3 years? And you've been giving Canelo all his decision, he could do whatever the he wants. So I feel like it's a little bit unfair. But you know, it is what it is. There's a lot of politics playing in this, and it is what it is. I just gotta, keep doing what I gotta do, beat the fighters I gotta beat, and that's it.
If Benavidez ends up losing in the near future without fighting Canelo, this will all quickly be forgotten. The fans will claim that he never had a chance, and that will be that. But if he keeps winning and looking as impressive as he has been, that will just add to the hype and the pressure for Canelo to fight him. And the reality is that Canelo might lose, so he has to carefully weigh the risk against the reward while everyone sits patiently and waits. It's the type of privilege that comes with being the A-side.